Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
7:07 on this Tuesday morning in your nation's capital as we wake up to, well, the snow's still there, and it's got that nice icy crust on it, too. And, just be careful as you're out there trying to shovel yourself out. Coming up in 30 minutes, we're going to check in with our friend Xi Van Fleet. She, of course, a refugee and survivor of Mao's China and Cultural Revolution. She's got a new book about that and about her new country, America, and how we're walking down the same path. 8:05 brings us Dr. Matthew Spalding of Hillsdale to reflect on America's 250th. And at 8:35, Maryland Delegate Matt Morgan on Governor Wes Moore's redistricting efforts, because Republicans can't have a voice in Congress if they come from Maryland. You know that. It's Larry O'Connor with Bethany Mandel. Good morning, Bethany.
Good morning. I'm so excited for this next segment.
Me too. I've been friends with Phelim McAleer and Annie McElhaney, filmmakers, for, going on close to 20 years. We met through Andrew Breitbart back in the early days, and they have now ventured into some theatrical productions as well. They specialize in verbatim plays. Those are plays that take actual words and reports and dialogue from people who have very real lived experiences and then basically dramatize them. And their newest project is October 7th, in their own words. They are the writers and producers, Phelim McAleer and Annie McElhaney. Phelim, good morning. I think we're still getting Annie on the line, but thank you for joining us, Phelim.
Yeah. How are you, Larry?
I'm okay, and I'm excited about this project as it debuts this week at the Trump Kennedy Center. You premiered it off-Broadway, though, last year, right?
Yes, that's right. Yes. Yes, so basically after October 7th, we went to Israel, interviewed people who'd lived through Israel's darkest days, and really it's their testimony, 14 people's testimony of October 7th on stage in their own words. No editorializing, no context, no composite characters, just the truth of what happened in Israel on that day.
But, Phelim, if I could, because I remember when you debuted this in New York, and it seems like such a powerful piece and such an important thing, and again, it's in the words of the victims of this massacre, and yet you had to deal with protests. You had to get a police presence there to protect you and your performers because of the mob who didn't want this story told.
Yeah, we were the only play, I think the only play in decades in New York that needed a permanent police presence, that needed actual security, armed security, to protect a play. That's how dangerous a play can be. And you think about it, it's actual Jewish voices in New York on a New York stage, and it needed police protection. It says a lot about New York, and it says a lot about, I suppose, the world at the moment.
Yeah. No, and what prompted you to obtain that permanent police presence was that when the Nova exhibit was being displayed in New York, that was being protested, an exhibit about the massacre on October 7th. There was a history in New York of that being protested, and so that was why you guys first obtained it, which is something that I learned from you over the course of the last week, helping you put on this incredible production. It's been such an honor to do that. I wanted to ask you, you're not the usual suspect for someone to put on something like this. Your last name isn't Cohen or Levy or Rosenberg. What inspired you as Irish Catholics? Larry is another one of these, wonderful Gentile friends of Israel, but there's not enough of you guys. What inspired you to do this, and how do we make more of you and Larry?
Well, I suppose it was just the truth. As journalists, we were just we just saw. I think Philip Graham, who people know in this town, he's the former publisher of the Washington Post. He said journalism is the first rough draft of history, and I was concerned that we were concerned no one was going to write that first draft. That everyone was talking about the war in Gaza. We were in Ireland at the time of October 7th, and everyone was talking about on October 8th, they weren't talking about October 7th. They were talking about the electricity being turned off in Gaza and the poor Gaza and the war. And they were protesting Israel on October 8th. And I said, hold on a moment. There would be no October 8th if there wasn't October 7th. And when we went to Israel, we interviewed all these people. The first thing we asked them wasn't what were they doing on October 7th. It was, what were you doing on October 6th? Tell me about October 6th. Because this was people at peace. I mean, and what they were doing on October 6th was the most boring, mundane stuff. They were preparing for a holiday. They were having fights about who was going to whose house. Because you're divorced and I'm, the kids were with you last year, and I'm going to my brother-in-law's, and all this stuff that you do at holidays, the nice, boring, mundane stuff. And this war was visited upon them, and I felt no one was talking. No one wants to talk about October 7th. And as an Irishman, that just made me get a little bit angry and obstreperous. And I thought we have to tell this story.
We're speaking with Phelim McAleer and his partner in crime, Annie McElhaney. They're talking about the premiere of October 7th, In Their Own Words, which is staged at the Terrace Theater at the Kennedy Center this week, Wednesday, in fact, at 7:30 p.m. And Annie's a warrior who I've known forever as well, alongside Phelim. Good to have you join us as well, Annie. And I'm so proud of this project in particular that you guys, you did the Gosnell film. Again, you tell the stories that Hollywood and Broadway don't want to tell. And that really is sort of an indictment of our industry, isn't it? Of the industry that I came from, the theatrical industry, where this is a story that they dare not tell.
Yeah, it's terrible, and it's an extraordinary story. I mean, it's very, very powerful. I hope anyone who's listening who can come on Wednesday night, we would love to see them, because it's very, very powerful. These are just ordinary people, but there is nothing ordinary about them, and obviously there's nothing ordinary about what happened to them on that day. And those stories are very, very powerful.
By the way, I love the fact that you did it off-Broadway theater, coming to the Kennedy Center, but you've also gone out of your way, it appears, to perform this on college campuses, including campuses where we saw some of the more horrific pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist demonstrations, including UCLA. How did it go over at UCLA?
Oh my God! It was. I mean, I when I arrived on the campus that evening, I thought I was going to cry, because I thought, can you imagine we're in Los Angeles? Can you imagine the number of great Jewish people who have put tons and tons of money into that college? Mm-hmm. There were 100 police officers. There were helicopters. It was like a war zone. Jeez. They had dogs. They had sniffer dogs, bomb-sniffing dogs who came through the campus, who came through the theater twice that day. I mean, there were barricades up everywhere. It was just like a war zone. There was the drones going off. I mean, extraordinary for a play with just people's words telling what they'd gone through.
Wow, that is really incredible. How, we have listeners around the country, and how can they bring this play to their campuses, to their churches, to their community? Is it possible to extrapolate this out of the Kennedy Center? It's happening on Wednesday night. Show starts at 7:30. October
and please just get in touch with us. We're all over social media, but unreportedstorysociety.com. The October7play.com. We're very easy to find, very easy to contact. Anne McElhaney, Phelim McAleer, and we would love that. People can put this on themselves, to play themselves. But obviously we love bringing this particular cast are extraordinary, very, very powerful. Many of them were at Bowdoin, and it was very, very powerful. So yes, we want to keep going, and the actors are so committed. I mean, at the beginning, at the end of the Bowdoin play, some of the actors came up to me afterwards and they said, "We just want to keep doing this." It's very, very powerful, and the fact that you're talking and you're using someone's words of what happened to them, it's very, very meaningful. So yes, please.
Phelim and Anne, and you're pulling all my right heartstrings here and pushing all my buttons because of my history in theater and how I got into this whole world from Andrew Breitbart's encouragement, and that's how I met you guys. Can you hold a second? I got one more question I have to ask you, but we got to do a quick break for traffic because of the snowstorm and just DC traffic in general.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
And, of course, by tomorrow night, you'll be feeling so stir-crazy that you're going to want to get out. So you're going to go to the Kennedy Center, the Trump Kennedy Center at the Terrace Theater to catch the premiere here in D.C. of this October 7th play. October 7th, in their own words, the creators and producers join us now, Fela McAleer and Annie McElhaney. And, guys, obviously, y'all are Irish. You can't hide it from us. We can hear it. And I visited Ireland for the first time a year and a half ago, and I absolutely fell in love, and it was fantastic. Mm-hmm. And I want to go back. And Meredith and I have been talking. It's like every year or so we want to go back and spend a week in Ireland on the West Coast where we stayed, and yet you see the politics. I have to ask you about the politics of Ireland right now, where they seem to be even more troublesome than some of their European partners here in their support of the Palestinian cause and, by extension, Hamas and the terrorist cause. And what is happening in our home country, in your home country?
Yes. Ireland is I would say is the most anti-Semitic country in Europe, and it's a very competitive field. It's not easy to win that competition at the moment.
Yeah,
but
really.
They do it. Yes. And look, Ireland. I used to think, it's just the elite, just the progressive elite. Unfortunately, you drive through Ireland and, you go, there's a couple of sheep on the road, and you drive past a house and there's a Palestinian flag flying. There is this obsession with Israel. And
is it because they identify with this perceived religious persecution, that they believe that they're being oppressed because they're Muslim, and that they're being they're being denied independence because of their religion, because of the history in Ireland with Catholics having to fight for independence from the British?
Yeah, well, it's part. Well, there was a big connection between the IRA and the PLO. They used to train together in the 70s. The IRA was armed by the PLO in the 70s, and there's this anti-colonialism idea in the UK, in Ireland, against Britain, that they've somehow transferred, and of course everyone now has to be oppressed or be an oppressor everywhere.
Yeah.
And so they look at the situation and they want to find oppressor versus oppressed, and they believe that the Palestinians are oppressed and the Israelis are the oppressor, and that's the way. So therefore, they're bad and the Palestinians are the good guys, and you can't tell them otherwise. And then, of course, don't forget, Larry, there's good old-fashioned anti-Semitism, which I didn't realize existed, but boy, I can tell you, from my own ears to your lips, it exists.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
My old industry, the theater industry, which is incredibly intolerant in their tolerance. The giants that brought me up and raised, they were the mentors for me. I'm talking about Schoenfeld and Jacobs and Eisenberg and these great giant theatrical producers who, oh, by the way, were Jewish, and they loved the state of Israel. Have any of them, this new generation of theater owners and producers, have they reached out to you and said, I have a passion for what you're doing here. Let me help fund it. Let me help, finance a tour or anything like that?
Well, we have, some people have helped, but look, Larry, the world is changing. I mean, it's a bit like the New York Times where the lunatics run the asylum. Look, when we try to bring it on to New York, there's a Facebook group of 15,000 people, Theatre Folks of Colour, FOLX. I'll have you know. They organised a boycott of the play and told their members not to audition for the play. They talked about trying to shut down the play. They talked about buying tickets to go in to disrupt the play. This is theater goers.
It's so disgraceful.
This is theater workers.
It's so disgraceful.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing this at the Trump Center also. So I posted the flyer, for this play in my local Jewish Facebook group. The number of people who commented, boycott, I won't go there, and can you imagine what is broken, especially in a Jew's brain, that they have prioritized boycotting the Kennedy Center over patronizing a play of this importance put on by not a Jew. Like, this is so important. And it was enraging to see this reaction from people. And I hope that people go out and they go on the Kennedy Center website, even Jewish or not Jewish, and say, I'm not going to fall into this politicization trap. There are things that go over politics, and this should be one of them.
Well, no, absolutely, absolutely, and I mean, obviously, before we arrived, before Trump took over the Kennedy Center, a lot of the content there was very liberal. It wasn't directed at the whole population.
Oh yes.
As you say, this is for everyone, and it's interesting and it's disappointing when people hate Trump more than they love the Jews. When they and we're seeing that among Jewish people too, which is very unfortunate.
Oh yeah, no. If the Trump Kennedy Center weren't run by the current board and the current president, Rick Grinnell, and we were under the old regime, you would have never gotten this opportunity to present this tomorrow night at the Terrace Theater at the Trump Kennedy Center. I'm only sorry, fellow Manani, that you happened to luck into a snowstorm here. But like I said, hopefully our roads will be clear by tomorrow, and people will be so stayed. It'll be a great night on the town tomorrow night at 7:30. What an incredibly powerful thing. This is what theater is for, telling these stories in this dramatic way and making it human and relatable to the everyday human experience. God bless you both. Always great talking with you. I miss you.
Oh, miss you too. Thank you so much, Larry. Really appreciate it.
I just want to say it's a story of tragedy, but
sorry, go ahead, fella.
No, it's a story. I mean, there is tragedy in this, but by the way, it's a story. These are stories of hope and resilience and bravery. There's a guy who left his house that morning, an off-duty police officer, with one pistol and 9 bullets. He killed 2 terrorists. He rescued families, people. It's a story of heroes and, actually, believe it or not, humor. There's humor in it because these people found humor in the darkest place. These are wonderful people, and it's a story of wonderful people.
Dude, that guy sounds awesome. I'm going to need Jason Statham to play him in the movie version.
Yes,
let's go.
Exactly.
Sounds awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Great talking with you. We got to roll. It is 7:25. We've got a conversation with Xi Van Fleet and her new book, Made in America, from the perspective of a survivor of Mao's China. Keep it here.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
Good morning. It's cold, and it's going to stay cold. Sorry. But you got to shovel out, man. You can't keep putting it out. It's good. Do it little bits at a time, then come in, have some coffee. Keep us on your radio or on your device so that we can keep you company. Coming up in 30 minutes, we're going to speak with Dr. Matthew Spalding from Hillsdale, our continuing conversation about America's 250th. And then at 8:35, we've got Maryland Delegate Matt Morgan on whether Governor Moore and the Democrats will succeed in disenfranchising every Republican in Maryland from having a voice in the House of Representatives. That's coming up right now. It's Larry O'Connor with Bethany Mandel. Good morning, Bethany.
Good morning. I have to say, every time you read the weather and you say 6, I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I know it sounds like a mistake. No, it's cold. Joining us right now, one of our favorites, Xi Van Fleet. She is a passionate voice for this country, for America, what America is supposed to be all about. And she sadly sees many correlations to Mao's Cultural Revolution, of which she is a survivor. Her new book, though, focuses on how we got here, Made in America, the hidden history of how the U.S. enabled communist China and created our greatest threat. Xi Van Fleet, always great to speak with you. Xi, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Larry.
It's not really a widely discussed story, but I think we all sort of recognize that during the Cold War, starting with Nixon and Kissinger and their successors, it was deemed that there was a way to sort of get at the Soviet Union by creating an alliance with China. And, by the way, keeping China from forging their own communist alliance with the Soviets. I mean, that was the policy, but is that how we ended up here?
Well, my book going back really to the middle of 1800 and tracing the beginning. And you will be surprised to learn, or the readers, that actually it was the Woodrow Wilson who set the stage for communism to take over China.
After good old Woodrow Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And after the disastrous Paris peace talk after the World War I, and step by step, America made all this mistake possible to help CCP to win China, and then eventually rescue. That's what Nixon did, rescued from a total collapse. And then one by one, and then eventually, Clinton led them into the World Trade Organization, and that's where we're today, become our most powerful threat ever, much more so than Soviet Union. Before Soviet Union, they're there, we're here. Now, where is the CCP? They're everywhere. They are everywhere, worldwide and in our country, and that is the challenge we're facing today.
Yeah. So your book is The Hidden History of How the United States Enabled Communist China and Created Our Greatest Threat. I would love your thoughts on the TikTok situation. We were supposed to ban it, and then we've kind of not heard anything about that going on. How do you judge the threat of TikTok?
Well, that is their weapon. That's CCP's propaganda weapon. And we allow them, and we know for a fact that, or maybe a lot of Americans don't know, all the media and social media of the West is banned in China. Yeah. Why we allow it? So I always, why we allow the CCP to buy land here, and why we allow them to infiltrate our educational system with Confucius Institute, why we allow them to do all this? That is the question. And
suicidal,
exactly. It's us. I want people to look here. The problem is here. No one can defeat America except Americans themselves, and those are the people. Those are the left. They're communists. Actually, Communist Party USA was founded 2 years before the CCP, and it's always here. Now they gain more power, and the leftists, the greedy corporations or the politicians, it's all of those people who sold America. And so
I want to follow up, actually, because it seems like there's a deal that just happened that is, preventing China from TikTok closing and all these things. And in his announcement, President Trump thanked the Chinese president for working with us and ultimately approving the deal. He could have gone the other way, but didn't, and is appreciated for his decision. What are your thoughts on that statement from President Trump, and the fact that it looks like TikTok lives another day?
The thing is that it's not an easy decision just to take it. I think his decision is correct, to take it and change it and own it. And it will need some work, but at least because there are so many users, that is our problem. Anything we do is not just a simple decision, kick them out. And the Americans, the users, they scream. They for a while, did you know that they abandoned TikTok to go to CCP's app, Red Book? What is Red Book?
Yeah.
Red Book is Mao's little red book that I grew up with. So you have to deal with all sorts of situations, and I think that is not a bad decision. Take CCP out and own TikTok.
It's got to be especially galling to see the Red Book evoked in such a way, considering you surviving the Cultural Revolution, making it to America, finding freedom, and now seeing how this sort of thing is celebrated. It's diabolical, Xi Van Fleet, but thankfully we still have your voice. We'll always remember you speaking out there in 2021 against critical race theory in the Loudon School curriculum, comparing it to exactly what you grew up with. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And we treasure your voice. And looking forward to reading your book. I haven't read it yet, but I will. It's called Made in America, The Hidden History of How the U.S. Enabled Communist China and Created Our Greatest Threat. Xi Van Fleet, we'll have you back again to talk more about it, but we're out of time now. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Later this morning on the Chris Plant Show, the Democrats' latest hero martyr. They claim he just had a camera and a bottle of water, no gun. 9 a.m. on WMAL.
As we mentioned earlier, our updates out of Minneapolis include President Trump announcing that he's sending former ICE acting director and now border czar Tom Homan to Minnesota, and that seems to be welcomed by a lot of people, just at the very least in terms of PR messaging and just sort of resetting the narrative out of Minneapolis. Tom Homan, of course, his main focus, it appears, has been going after criminals and focusing on operations that will maximize the effort of ICE and Border Patrol to get the baddest of the bad hombres and gather them up and deport them. And something that the message, he's very good at sending out the message like, yeah, you know, you're worried about a 5-year-old child because his illegal immigrant dad abandoned him and ran away. I'm interested in the hundreds of thousands of children who were lost in the system when Joe Biden was president, and we're still trying to track them down. So spare me your tears. So I think that's a good move in terms of the administration trying to reset the conversation about Minneapolis.
Yeah. I mean, it's necessary. There was an important tweet from Fox News' Bill Melugin that I think is worth, people realizing in the Trump administration. He tweeted specifically, "I'm told there is extreme frustration with DHS officials going on television, putting out statements claiming that Alex Preddy was intending to conduct a massacre of federal agents. These sources say that the messaging from DHS officials has been catastrophic from a PR and morale perspective."
Yeah.
I can't imagine this is easy. The unreported story out of Minnesota is that these agents and anyone who is suspected to be an agent is being harassed by a very organized mob. It's really terrifying. They're organizing on Signal, and they're tracking people down. There's a database that they're putting license plates into, and every honest reporter that I'm seeing talking about reporting out of Minnesota has said this is the craziest thing they've ever seen. There's a reason why all these things are happening in Minnesota and Minnesota only, and it's because it's being fueled by Tim Walz and all of these Minnesota officials who want this outcome. They want people to be shot dead by ICE.
That's what they want. And they keep calling it, it's chaos, it's chaos. No, it's choreographed is what it is.
100%.
That's what this is.
Yep.
And by the way, taking his cue from Governor Tim Walz, who compared the situation there to the Holocaust, here is one of the protest leaders, I guess, one of the outspoken anti-ICE activists from his store. It's called Moon Palace Books, which I think, of course, you get free shrooms with the purchase. Here he was with Jake Tapper yesterday. Listen.
I understand that, but they take people to Fort Snelling here, which literally was built as a concentration camp, and Alligator Alcatraz, which I think we can all agree is a concentration camp. I'm not saying they're Dachau. I'm not saying they're putting people in ovens yet, but these are concentration camps.
Okay.
I don't need to argue with you about
that.
There's journalist and teleprompter reader Jake Tapper pushing back on that notion so vociferously.
Okay.
I don't need to argue with you.
That was it. Okay.
I'm going to be charitable, actually, Larry.
Yeah, I know.
I think he was speechless because it is so wild to me how easily and gleefully these people are deploying Holocaust terminology and references. Today is U.S. Holocaust International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and for people to just be gleefully throwing this stuff around, which, by the way, they're doing this on the heels of spending 2.5 years of accusing Israel of committing a genocide in Gaza,
right,
in response to October 7th.
Right.
If the chutzpah, that is the definition of chutzpah, to be claiming the mantle of the Holocaust after spending 2.5 years accusing Jews of committing a genocide.
You can extend all the grace you would like. It's obviously your prerogative and right. I have witnessed too many years of Jake Tapper not being speechless on his set when he is berating someone who is coming from the conservative side of the political equation. Why is he only speechless when it's somebody on the left making such accusations?
So, in my defense, he doesn't have that many conservative guests. So we don't have a lot of
we don't have
examples
a good sample
to point
there.
To.
Yeah,
we don't. We don't.
Fair enough. All right, coming up later in the program, Senator Mark Warner had something to say about funding DHS, except he's a bit of a moron about it, and a flashback to what Hillary Clinton used to say about illegal immigration and sanctuary cities, used to say back when she wanted your vote.